This is CBC Here and Now.
It's a shame, of course, to hear that that's something that it might be lost in the neighbourhood.
It was a surprise, but I would say a pleasant surprise.
Questions tonight about replacing St. Clair's Hospital, like when will it be built and how much will it cost?
We're live down at Bannerman Park tonight for the annual Pumpkin Walk. Lots of people down here already enjoying this absolutely beautiful weather. It's going to get a little more chilly, though. I'll get into the full forecast details coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. More reaction tonight to yesterday's unexpected announcement of a new hospital to replace St. Clair's in St. John's. That announcement has left many with questions. CBC News spoke with the union representing hundreds of employees at the hospital, as well as a concerned ward councillor. Here and Now's Mark Quinn has our top story.
Premier Andrew Furey says the new hospital to replace this one will be built somewhere on the northeast Avalon. At least one St. John's City councillor is worried about what that will mean to people living in Ward 2, where many medical services and social services have grown up around St. Clair's.
I believe we have the highest proportion of pedestrians in St. John's, highest proportion of active transit users. We're in a neighbourhood that's very well serviced, of course, by public transit. I think to have a hospital in a central location like that, it can be kind of critical. And it's a shame, of course, to hear that that's something that it might be lost in the neighbourhood.
Union leaders agree that this facility, parts of which were built in 1922, has to go. But they didn't expect yesterday's announcement.
Like most, I think at the beginning it was a surprise, but I would say a pleasant surprise.
Earl says the hospital does need to be replaced, but addressing the healthcare worker shortage must be addressed too.
We definitely got to focus on human resources. We have been saying for some years that there's a shortage of staff in many professions across Newfoundland and Labrador, but I believe we can do that while we also plan infrastructure.
Furey said it's too soon to talk about any of the details, when the hospital will be built, how much it will cost, or where it will be built. City Councillor Ravencroft hopes it won't be built too far from here and that this old complex will be repurposed to serve this community with affordable housing or medical services. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Police are still trying to identify human remains found in the woods in Paradise. The RNC says someone contacted police yesterday about the discovery in the Three Island Pond area. Criminal investigation and forensics officers arrived on the scene just before 11 a.m. They're investigating the cause of death as well as the person's identity. The RNC says you can expect to see a police presence in that area while the investigation continues. Okay, time now to check in with Ashley, who's out enjoying this cool first night of November at Bannerman Park in St. John's. Ashley, it's still looking kind of Halloweenish out there tonight.
I'd say even more so than last night, or at least Halloween is all at Bannerman Park right now, where the Pumpkin Walk is taking place. At the moment, people are pretty good turnout already so far. We're in the sensory hour until about 6:30, and then things will, the music will start. I hear there's some performers where there may be some zombies as well as some fire breathers. So definitely lots of fun to be had down here for sure, and a beautiful night. A little less windy than last night, although a bit cooler. However, having been outside last night, it definitely feels nicer than that. So let's take a look at the temperatures today. Much cooler, like I said. In fact, 6 degrees cooler here in St. John's. Tonight, 6 degrees cooler in Gander as well. And then same thing for Corner Brook, just only by a degree though, and then a little bit warmer even up across Labrador through your day today. Now, we're into November, as Carolyn mentioned, and we're talking about these consecutive 10-degree days. In fact, 139 days in St. John's was over the 10-degree mark, and that breaks the old record of 122 back in 1958. So today's temperatures just barely over 7 degrees today. We are looking at a big change in the temperatures, though, as we head through the overnight and into, overnight Wednesday into Thursday, as we see a big dip in that jet stream. And this is also when we're going to start to talk about the potential for first freeze. That will happen likely at that time. And you know what? It's rivaling some of the latest. Gander's November 6, 2004, St. John's November 12th, 2014. So I guess we will have to look and see if those temperatures reach below 0 degrees, which looks likely. But I'll get into the full forecast. We'll have a couple more details on the pumpkin walk as well coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the trial into a fatal shooting in Labrador City continued in Happy Valley Goose Bay today. The jury heard from an eyewitness, someone in the home during the shooting. But as Here and Now's Heidi Adder reports, the defense is questioning that person's credibility.
Martin O'Day was living at the home in Labrador City where Vincent Belanger Dampierre was fatally shot. The Montreal man testified Tuesday with the help of an interpreter. He told the court he knew Belanger Dampierre since childhood and that his friend invited him to Labrador, telling him there would be snowmobiling and relaxation. He testified that on April 25, 2018, Vincent Ward walked in with a gun in a case, pulled out the firearm, loaded it, and shot Belanger Dampierre in front of him. O'Day says Ward then followed him with the rifle while he gathered his stuff and left. When police went to the home the following day, they found multiple firearms in the room along with the body. O'Day says those weren't there when the shooting happened, but the defense questions O'Day's truthfulness. O'Day says he knew drugs were being sold at the house while he was staying there. However, he says he didn't know everything Belanger Dampierre was doing. But the lawyer said O'Day told police back in 2018 that the place wasn't a, quote, dope house. O'Day says at the time he had no intentions of lying, but was traumatized by what had happened. The defense says O'Day slept a lot after the shooting as he was coming down from drugs, but O'Day disputed that, saying that it was due to the trauma of seeing his friend being shot. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
Well, we're back down at Bannerman Park right now. I'm joined by Deputy Mayor Sheila O'Leary, and we're going to chat a little bit about what's going on tonight. Pretty good turnout so far. So what is going on?
It's fantastic. Well, this is our annual pumpkin walk, and this time right now between 5:30 and 6:30 is the sensory-friendly portion of the event. So it's quieter, people are walking about, looking at the pumpkins and such, but then 6:30, of course, we're going to have music, we're going to have performances, hot chocolate, all kinds of events, but it's a really wonderful event to get community together, but also compost all of those pumpkins.
Yeah, so speaking of that, now everybody's bringing their pumpkins down here. What happens to them afterwards?
Well, they go to the landfill and then they get composted, so it's wonderful. They don't end up on the streets or vandalized or any of that kind of stuff. We obviously, composting is a big thing with our sustainability plan that we want to see happen, and it's a great opportunity to get community together. It's a win-win situation. So people love this event, and so the Pumpkin Walk has been an annual event for many years now, and it brings in families and people. You can see by the crowd here, it's just, people are loving it.
And that's it, like lots of people here already tonight. So do you have any sense of why it's so popular?
Because it's a family-friendly event. I mean, people love Halloween in general, I think. But it's also, you know, people want to show off their carvings. It's an opportunity to get together in a park setting. And of course, there's going to be music and entertainment as well, too. So everybody's just, you know, it's a community thing. It's a community event.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, speaking of community, this hour now until 6:30 is a sensory-friendly hour. Why did the city make that happen?
Well, because the city is very, very interested in ensuring that we have accessible events. And one of the things that we know is that sometimes there are people who are neurodiverse, people on the autism spectrum, you know, and a lot of noise and chaos can certainly be a deterrent for those folks. So we want to make sure that we're inclusive to everybody in our community. So that gives the opportunity for people to come around in a quiet space, have a look at all those beautiful pumpkins that are carved. People are so creative. And then after that, then the music and the DJs and all the rest can start up.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a one more day for Halloween. People dressing up just like yourself. I noticed you're in costume.
I'm squeezing it for all I can.
And lots of kids doing that too. What are you?
Good question. Not quite sure.
It's the thought that counts, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy tonight. Enjoy this beautiful weather. We're going to talk a little bit more about the forecast and what's to come when we come back.
Day of the Dead. It's a 5-day celebration held annually in Mexico and has been for hundreds of years. that's a very joyful way to say hi again every year.
We'll have that story coming up.
The Royal Canadian Legion in St. John's has lost a long-serving, well-respected member. Bill Saunders was a veteran of the Second World War and a member of the Legion for more than 70 years. A gunner for the British Navy during World War II, Saunders was at sea when the first Allied vessel arrived to liberate Hong Kong from the Japanese in August 1945. He died in St. John's last week at the age of 101. A spokesperson says Saunders visited the Legion on Black Marsh Road just about every day, always around for a chat or advice. His photo hangs on the wall at the entrance of the lounge. CBC was there for his 100th birthday party just last year. Saunders leaves behind 3 children, 3 grandchildren, and a sister. Well, as we've seen, Halloween and pumpkins are getting one last chance to shine tonight in St. John. So let's check back with Ashley, who's at the annual Pumpkin Walk at Bannerman Park. So beautiful night tonight, Ashley, but you mentioned earlier that we could be seeing some frost soon.
Yep, it's about that time. Typically, we see frost here in St. John's around October 10th, but as we've been talking about for most of the month, and now into early November, those temperatures have yet to reach the 0 degree mark, but it does look like it's coming. And we're getting pretty close to that tonight. In fact, sitting around 5 degrees here in St. John's right now. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the province this evening, hovering around 7 or 8 degrees tonight as well through central Newfoundland. The warmest is along the south coast. In fact, 10 to 11 degrees right now. Stephenville is sitting around 11 at the moment as well. So winds much less than they were yesterday. That area of low pressure is well offshore now. And in fact, the reason why we're seeing these less winds is because of where that ridge of high pressure is at the moment. So this weather maker, the next weather maker anyway, that area of low pressure, that leading edge of that warm air is going to move in as we head through the night tonight. And we are going to see some of that milder air move in right along with it. So current temperatures you can see down across the maritime provinces between 12 and 15 degrees. Some of that warmer air already edging in, which is why we're in the double digits for Port aux Basques and St. Lawrence. And that will continue to travel towards the province as we head through the overnight tonight. Now, there is the chance of some showers up across Labrador, at least to start. As that cold front pushes through, we're going to see that potential for some flurries as we get into the early morning hours. But we will see that rain edge in overnight as well across the island as we get into the early morning hours. Now, temperatures tonight, not really going to move too much here in St. John's. We'll hover around 5 degrees for a good chunk of the, all of the overnight through central between 3 and 4 degrees. Low-lying areas may see some cooler temperatures than this, but just to put that into perspective, yesterday morning, Gander only sat around 0.4 degrees on the plus side of the mercury, but just in Gander West, which is not too far from the airport, temperatures dipped to the minus single digits, and then you did see that frost. So tonight, though, as we're seeing that push of mild air, those southerly winds will likely stay above 0, but that's not the case up across the big land. That potential for flurries, like I mentioned, look at that wind shift, westerlies to northwesterlies, a bit gusty, and that is definitely indicative of that cold front moving through. Now, through tomorrow, looking pretty rainy, at least to start for most. We'll see that rain continue through a good chunk of the morning. As we get into the afternoon, the showers will be less numerous, but still likely sticking around for the west coast, as well as parts of central as we get into the evening hours. But there should be some peaks of sun maybe before the sun goes down tomorrow. And then you can see just barely, though, there on the southwest coast, we could see that potential for some flurries overnight. So some of that colder air moving in a bit sooner for you. Now, as far as rainfall amounts go, nothing super significant, but we could see areas of between 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, maybe some pockets of a bit higher than that, and that will fall through the day. So some of the heavier showers will likely bring some of that heavier rainfall amounts. Now, for the Avalon, likely somewhere between 5 to 10 millimeters. Still, though, well below average as far as those rainfall totals go, even through October. Winds will be a lot more gusty tomorrow than they were today. Southwesterlies between 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. We're up as far as those temperatures go as well. 12 to 13 degrees for most of eastern Newfoundland, and then as you head towards central, we're looking at those similar temperatures as well. Now, along the south coast, around 10 degrees with that heavier rain likely sticking in and around central and towards the northeast coast. But then as you head towards the west coast, I did put that flurry icon in there for you, but that won't happen until the overnight. And again, that's as those winds shift, cold front sweeps through. Those winds will be out of the northwest between 30 to 60 kilometers per hour. So you may start warm, but it definitely won't end warm. Now, as far as the northern peninsula goes, you should stay on the rain side of this at the moment. Higher elevations, though, along the long range mountains, you could see some accumulating snow through the overnight tomorrow night. And then for Labrador, northwesterly winds for you as well, around 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. Showers should be the story. But as that front moves through, temperatures in Happy Valley, Goose Bay actually going to rise tonight and then fall as we head through the day tomorrow. So you'll hover around 1 or 2 degrees as your afternoon temperatures tomorrow. Nain around 2, and Lad City again Very gusty for you. Those winds around 80 kilometers per hour to the northwest with a chance of flurries and your temperature around -1. Now, there is a warm-up coming again as we head through next week. Very much a roller coaster forecast as it has been and typically is in the shoulder seasons. But I'll get into all of those details when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, Halloween may be over, but a celebration for our dearly departed is just getting started. It's been an annual tradition in Mexico for hundreds of years. Now, the Day of the Dead is being marked in Brook. Troy Turner has that story.
It's marked by an annual altar to remember those lost. Pictures of loved ones and those admired, their favorite pastimes, beverages, even food.
I think it's mostly from the point that we don't see death as the same thing. Like, I think for North Americans, it's more like they don't want to talk about it. It's like a taboo. And for us, it's a natural thing. For us, like, either way, we're gonna get there. So that's why we're not afraid of it. And it's more like, let's embrace it as what it is, just another part of life.
In Brook, it's being celebrated over 5 days. This year, for the first time, there's a public altar.
I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to bring this celebration that is one of the most famous and joyful, colorful in Mexico, to Brook. And in Brook has shown me a lot of Mexican people, a lot of Latin people that I didn't know them. So this has brought a lot of nice things.
Clara Moeller and her daughter-in-law are the organizers. Bringing this tradition to life has been met with some confusion, but people are catching on.
I was telling about some people I know here in Canada. Please give me the photo of your loved people, and I can put in the altar. We are going to celebrate the Day of the Dead. Oh, no, thank you. That's not normal for us. I said, no, it's a very nice way to think. You are in my heart. You are in my feelings. You are in my memory. I always remember you.
I've learned that it's a beautiful celebration of life. And even with all the skeletons that are around you, it's more of a way of mocking death, to make sure that death and you have this relationship, that you understand that it's part of life. It's something that's coming and you can embrace it and not fear it.
Back at Tlahuache, Jorge Cortez says as the veil has been lifted from life to death, he celebrates in a way he knows best.
For me, I think the biggest part is the food, because it's for them. It's what you live for them, and it's in their memory.
The culmination of the Day of the Dead festivities will take place 7 p.m. Wednesday night here at the Rotary Arts Center. After that, the celebrations will be laid to rest until 2023, where organizers hope to do it all over again. Troy Turner, CBC News, Brook.
They struggle and stick it out for a while once it gets frosty at night. They're just not built for it. They're not evolved for this kind of a habitat.
A rare bird spotted a long way from home. But what will happen to it now that it's here? On the Go's Anthony Germain has that story for us next.
I like things with dents and knocks and scratches, and I like the things that got a story.
Reclaiming wood to reclaim happiness. Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
You're looking at Lundrigan's Marsh, and if you look really carefully, you'll see that small little white dot in the marsh. That's an interesting bird. Here's a close-up look of what this bird looks like, and someone who's been taking that picture joins me now, Jeff Smith. What is that bird that we see way in the back out there?
That is a great egret, and they're a bird of the Gulf Coast, Florida. Should be in Mexico this time of year. So this little guy probably got, not so little guy, probably got blown up here with Hurricane Fiona, and a couple more of them. There's another one in Bay Roberts as well.
When we say not so little guy, what can you tell me about this bird?
They're pretty big. They're sort of graceful. They look like a gigantic ballerina, but they have a 6-foot wingspan. So, they're up in between our ospreys and our eagles kind of thing, size-wise.
So in the birding world, what makes this bird interesting? Is it just this graceful ballerina, or are there other aspects to it?
All birds of the heron family are interesting, just, because they are these graceful birds. But, you might get the occasional one in southwestern Ontario or Atlantic Canada, but pretty rare in Newfoundland. That being said, I've probably seen a half dozen or more in the last 4 or 5 years, blown in on storms.
This bird has quite an appetite, right?
They might look like something that would just eat their veggies and that kind of a mellow dude, but they are hunters. They will eat fish and amphibians and even wander into fields and get voles and field mice. And they have this very sharp bill that they use like a spear. They can actually spear a frog right through its body, flip it up, and swallow it down. It's pretty remarkable.
This is the kind of thing birders love, right?
It's science, man. It's science.
Isn't nature beautiful? Yeah. I'm afraid to ask this question because I think I know the answer, but what are this bird's chance of survival? It's used to Florida, and here it is in Newfoundland in November.
Yeah, it's iffy. A lot of them I've photographed in the past didn't last a long time. They struggle and stick it out for a while once it gets frosty at night. They're just not built for it. They're not evolved for this kind of a habitat. And they don't really have that instinct, to get up and say, I got to get the heck out of here.
Right. So you've been watching this bird off and on. What kinds of things have you observed as a birder? What's it been doing here?
Well, the first day I saw it was, I have a friend on Virginia Lake who allows me private access on the north side. And I wandered down one day because somebody said this great egret had been seen down there. And I walked to my little spot where he has a deck on the shore, and 30 feet away from me, there it was. So I sort of kept back, out of its circle of fear and got a shot about 30 feet away, a nice portrait kind of an image, right? But then it's been moving around. It was at Kenny's Pond, Kent's Pond, Virginia Lake, but now it seems to be sticking here. It must like the fishing.
I know you've been talking to somebody about, a remote chance of trying to save this poor lost creature. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, a friend of mine, Karen Brown-Goss, she is the director of the Rock Wildlife Rescue out in Torbay. And she has the federal permit to rescue this bird if it's in distress. Now, they wouldn't go near it otherwise while it's still doing well. Hopefully, they can catch it before it slips into that state where it's not savable. But she's been doing a bit of back-channel communication with a rescue center in Florida, so she's hoping she might be able to get them to take it, get it flown down there, as long as she can get the province's wildlife department to come on board and allow her to do that. Right. Yeah.
Okay, and also you wanted to mention a certain publication.
Yeah, I have a book out. It's called Wildlife of Newfoundland, Wild World Nearby. And with the help of some sponsors, we produced the book to raise money for the Rock Wildlife Rescue. And right now, if you contact them, you can find them on Facebook, and you can get one for free as long as you give them a minimum $50 donation. And great gift for someone, if you know somebody who's a nature lover, they get the book and they get a certificate saying $50 has been donated in their name to the Rock Wildlife Rescue. And easiest way to get it is text Karen at 727-0557, or you can email her at therockwildliferescue@gmail.com.
All right, Jeff, well, let's hope for the best for this egret and appreciate your insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Well, Many of us have been enjoying this mild weather this fall, but there could be consequences to this extended growing season. St. John's Morning Show host Chrissy Holmes spoke with Lisa and Steve McBride, who run the Backyard Farming and Homesteading NL Facebook group. Now, they're worried the warmer weather will throw the natural cycle of plants and pollinators off kilter.
The farmer slash gardener in me is pretty chuffed, right? Like, I was picking blackberries from my blackberry patch yesterday. And, there's really a lot of great things about having a nice run of nice weather into September, October. But, there's other things to worry about too, because, nature's rhythms everything's supposed to go to bed. Right. And, we're seeing some unusual activity in terms of that with how warm we've been.
What other flowers, for example, are you seeing out of season?
Right now, our nasturtiums are in full bloom, and usually I'm right at the tail end of collecting their seeds, but the bees are still on them. They're still sending out new blooms, let alone, the old one, so to speak. Our poppies are doing amazing. We just had a new one come up yesterday, and again, the bees were all over them, so at least they have a nice little treat.
So what is the downside of that?
Yeah, I'm torn on the weather because, I love a nice 15-degree sunny day, and I was enjoying the weather that we've had over the past couple days. I was out in the garden in a short-sleeve t-shirt. But, of course, the other concern is that seasonal activities that are supposed to happen in rhythm with the seasons are getting postponed or delayed. So is the nice weather leading to, like, my turkeys were still laying eggs into October, and that's a little unusual. So I kind of got to wondering, are we seeing unseasonal behavior from the birds? Certainly I'm seeing unseasonal behavior from my bees, who were supposed to be tucked up tight in their hives, getting prepared to hibernate for the winter. So heck, Lisa stepped outside last night. And then came back inside, and a moth followed her in, and the cat was hunting a moth. And we're seeing some weird activity from insects that are supposed to be kind of getting ready to hibernate, and instead they're coming out. I got a mosquito bite the other day.
Yeah.
And we're kind of thinking, well, these are really unseasonal behaviors. This is summertime activity from things like these insects. And what I worry about is if a certain number of insects are reemerging and thinking, oh, hey, it's not winter or winter's over. Then those are going to be, like, populations are going to die off. And, we could see some of the ecosystem, some of the flowers, some of the insects and stuff, take a bit of a hit with a prolonged warm spell.
Well, help us understand a little bit more about your concerns with the bees and the wasps in particular, where they should be in their life cycle this time of the year, and why this is still being out buzzing around is concerning.
Well, I can speak to honeybees because I keep them, and I imagine that some of the knock-on effects to other, like, winged pollinators is similar. But my bees generally by October, I've put a little guard on the front, I've wrapped the hives up. They're kind of hanging around in a cluster, just, waiting at winter. And they'll stay that way until the flowers bloom in March. So instead, they're out flying around. And because they're out flying around, they're burning energy rather than sitting in cluster and sort of, in a semi-hibernation-like state. They're using energy. They're working, they're flying. And if there's a lot of flowers around, that's great, but there's not a lot of flowers around. There's only a handful of flowers around. So my fear is that they and other pollinators like bees and stuff are maybe using energy and using food reserves that are basically supposed to last them through the entire winter. So I'll be paying extra close attention to my honeybees this year because I'm aware that if they go through too much honey, there's always the risk they'll starve in the late winter, early springtime. And, the longer this warm weather goes, the more of a concern that becomes for me. So, I enjoy the nice days, but I'm also really looking forward to some good hard frosts.
And Steve McBride may get that wish pretty soon. Frost is in the forecast. Ashley will tell us all about it. She's live in Bannerman Park tonight, where you'll see spooky and creative carvings on display. It's part of the City of St. John's annual Pumpkin Walk. The event runs until 8:30 this evening for anyone who wants to see the pumpkins for themselves. Ashley is back with us after the break to talk to the local Neighborhood Watch. Okay, so let's go back to Bannerman Park where Ashley is standing by at the annual Pumpkin Walk. So Ashley, it seems that Halloween is getting one last hurrah tonight, but there is more to this event, right?
Yes, absolutely. The Monster Mash is now playing behind me. Yeah, there is a few more aspects to this pumpkin walk, and one of them is in regards to Neighborhood Watch. So I'm joined now by Jennifer McGraw. She is, you came up with this idea. So how did you come up with the idea for the pumpkin walk?
Well, we didn't invent it, but we certainly thought it was a great idea. We've seen it in other municipalities across Canada, and we've taken it, the City of St. John's Neighbourhood Watch program and our special events have taken it as a crime prevention initiative. Because really what we're doing, we see that over 50% of calls on Halloween are crimes against property involving jack-o'-lanterns. And we're removing thousands of those now from our landfill and from the possibility of having any of that vandalism done and keeping our communities clean and safe.
Right. And so how big of a problem was pumpkin smashing?
It was over 50% of calls that would come through. And when the pumpkins are smashed, that means that they're causing a risk. You could slip on those. It's causing distress. It's not looking great. So what we're going to do is take those pumpkins, we're going to compost them, and the pumpkins we see here today could be the pumpkins of tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So have you noticed any difference in the amount of, vandalism or all that since we've started this?
I personally have noticed a decrease in seeing pumpkins smashed around, and it makes me feel great to see that these thousands of pumpkins here tonight are not going to be victims of crime. We're not going to see them smashed in our streets. We're not going to have our residents having to deal with a mess and clean up and feel like maybe someone was on their property that they didn't want there.
That's right, and there are thousands of pumpkins here right now. Definitely a popular event. So what kind of feedback do you get from this?
We have had fantastic feedback from the Pumpkin Walk. It has been really wonderful. Everybody just seems to have a great time. They're enjoying the pumpkins. It's really kind of calm, even though busy. It's very friendly, very easy to get around. It's an accessible event. It's free. It's here till 8:30. We're here tonight. You don't have to bring a pumpkin. You can just come and enjoy the pumpkins that are here.
That's right. Well, thank you very much. There's lots more going on here tonight. As you saw, some fire breathers behind me, lots of music starting as well, and we will get into the long-range forecast when I come back.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley. That fire breather was something else. Well, in other news tonight, there's more on a major problem in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Dozens of people are living in the woods at the edge of town. It's become a public safety issue, with the town council saying it hired a security company to help protect residents from what it calls violent and lewd behavior. The concern came up in the legislature again today.
The problem in Happy Valley Goose Bay continues to get worse. They've had to hire security to patrol an area near a school so that children aren't accosted by people that are intoxicated. The local daycare is now limited in taking children for walks outside. Will the minister, I ask again, commit to additional funds for an enhanced police presence immediately?
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Public Safety.
Thank you, Speaker. And we, as my colleague said, we've been working on this for a number of months with regards to an acute care team and a long-term solutions for this problem that exists in Happy Valley Goose Bay. When I first got involved, there was a request for additional funding so the town could hire municipal enforcement officers. We provided that funding. They hired municipal enforcement officers. The request has been now for additional RCMP funding. As the member well knows, there was an additional $17 million in annual budget provided in the budget last year for RCMP throughout the province. I've also had conversations with the RCMP, and there's been increased patrols there, and increased individuals have been deployed to Happy Valley Goose Bay for this specific issue. But most importantly, Speaker, is what I want to say is we can't police our way out of societal issues, and I'm not going to be part of a government that orders the RCMP to arrest Indigenous people.
Minister's time has expired. The Honourable Member of Cape St. Francis. Order, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. This is a public security issue that needs to be dealt with. Speaker, it has been over 4 years since a water bomber has been damaged and taken out of service. The Minister said in May he hoped to sell it for $22 million. Now we learn an aircraft manufacturer has interest in that aircraft. Speaker, I call on the Minister to clarify. Will it be fixed, sold, or replaced?
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Public Safety.
Thank you, and I'll address the preamble, Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to do that because I never got to finish my sentence with regards to this complex issue.
Good point. That's good.
I heard a lot of questions since I've been here about mental health issues and addictions issues. And
Order. The Honourable Minister of Justice and Public Safety.
And the complex issue that exists in Happy Valley Goose Bay is just that. It's very complex, and it's mental health issues, it's addictions issues, it's issues that involve CSSD, it's issues that involve education, it's issues that involve health. And we want to work with all those departments to make sure that we can make the best society and the best community in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And I said it before and I'll say it again, I am not going to be part of a government to police our way out of this issue and to round people up and throw them in jail. Especially when the people that we are talking about are Indigenous people. That's a very colonial and old way of thinking. And this is a modern government, and we're not going to do that. Order.
The inquiry into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act has started hearing from organizers of the protest convoy. Chris Barber, who opposed cross-border COVID mandates, was first. He led a convoy of truckers to Ottawa from Western Canada. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian has the latest.
A sound that became synonymous with the trucker convoy, now denounced by one key organizer.
I'll be the first to admit the horns annoyed me. I did everything in my power to try and get the horns to stop.
Chris Barber, one of the first people behind the initial protest and first to take the stand. His words quickly contradicted by this video.
Hey! They've already filed a $4 million civil lawsuit against us for horns. You guys shut up over there? Am I doing my part?
Would that be an example of you being a troll?
No, that's me being a funny guy.
Barber is facing charges of obstruction and mischief. He did refer to himself as an internet troll today. His past online presence includes this video.
Keep hearing that Trudeau wants our guns. So does he want them bullets first or that way? Come on, get them.
Barber also denied reading an online document promoted by another convoy organizer which spoke about forcing the government's resignation. And then there was this.
Were you aware, sir, that Deputy Prime Minister Freeland received a death threat?
I was not, no.
An email dated from a couple of days after the Emergencies Act was invoked, the sender saying they declare war on all the Canadian government for lying about COVID-19, adding Freeland will get a bullet to the head.
I assume you would reject this statement and any such action.
Unequivocally, yes.
The last question then is, would you agree with me that when you start a fire and fan the flames, it can get out of control? And you had no control over those other factions who had come to this protest.
That's where I spent a lot of time on the ground.
Barber also denied knowledge of something else the Commission heard for the first time today. That Ontario Provincial Police arrested a man with body armor, knives, and a machete in connection with the Mental Health Act during the protest. And he denounced Pat King, another key convoy organizer who faces criminal charges of his own and is expected to testify later this week. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, the federal government hopes to boost immigration to this country to 500,000 people a year by 2025. The Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship says the goal is to help businesses and bolster the Canadian economy.
You know, we need more workers in every sector and every region of the country, regardless of whether it's frontline healthcare workers, truck drivers, home builders, or software engineers.
The minister also points out that the Canadian population is aging and immigration is needed to replace retiring baby boomers. He noted that there are currently just 3 people in the workforce for every retiree. It used to be 7. He says the goal is to have 60% of immigrants admitted in the economic class for people who have skills that are needed in Canada. Well, India's Prime Minister has visited the site of a deadly bridge collapse. The 143-year-old suspension bridge had just undergone repairs before it fell on Sunday. Hundreds of people plunged into the deep waters of the river below, leaving at least 135 dead. Reporter Nia Munia has more.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the town of Morbi in western India 3 days after a tragic bridge collapse claimed hundreds of lives. He met with survivors of this accident, promising them a detailed inquiry, saying that those behind this would be held to account. So far, 9 people have been arrested, all of them employees of the local firm Oreva that was tasked with repairing and restoring this 19th century bridge. They've been charged with culpable homicide not amounting to murder. There are managers that worked with the firm, some employees actually engaged in the repair work, and also some ticket collectors, because the allegation is that too many tickets were sold and overcrowding might have been one of the reasons behind the bridge collapsing. There are allegations though from the opposition party that not enough due diligence was done by the local government. The state has been ruled by Prime Minister Modi's BJP party for many years. The allegation is that this company does not have any experience in repairing and maintaining bridges and was given a tender to repair this bridge despite that. The other allegation is that there wasn't a security clearance done before this bridge was thrown open to the public after being shut for more than 6 months. Now, this can become a big talking point as Gujarat, which is Prime Minister Modi's home state, is heading to the polls later this year, and the opposition is now demanding that the state's chief minister, a close ally of Prime Minister Modi, step down and take responsibility. Neha Punia for CBC News, New Delhi.
Well, as of today, there's a new, cheaper option available for online streaming. Netflix has launched its lower-cost service that includes commercials, and as CBC's Philippe de Montigny reports, it's just one part of the company's larger strategy to boost profits.
It's something never seen before on Netflix. 4 to 5 minutes of ads per hour on the streaming service. That's if you sign up for its new cheaper membership for $5.99 a month, an option for anyone looking to save money right now. And according to a new survey, a lot of Canadians are. 1 in 3 have cancelled at least one streaming subscription in the last 6 months. But some Netflix users say they are willing to pay more to avoid those ads.
The consumerism, the marketing, they're loud, they're kind of obnoxious. I don't like them. I just can't stand commercials.
Experts say Netflix is trying to seduce price-conscious consumers ahead of plans to crack down on password sharing next year.
It's a mitigation strategy to get people, as they're changing the digital backend, to make sure people can't share their account with 7 people, okay? To not lose the people who are like, okay, well, now I can't share my dad or my friend or my sister's account.
Netflix says the new lower-cost plan won't include its entire library, and subscribers won't have the option to download titles for remote viewing.
It's good.
Still, in New York, marketing agencies are excited at the prospect of buying ad space on Netflix.
We've known it's been coming since the inception of Netflix. It's an economic reality that at some point they were going to run out of people willing to pay for it, and they were going to have to find new ways to grow.
Netflix isn't the only streaming service testing the waters. In the US, HBO Max and Paramount Plus are among those already offering cheaper ad-supported memberships, a trend we're likely to see more of here in Canada. Philippe de Montigny, CBC News, Toronto.
More news for you tomorrow on CBC Radio. In the morning on Newfoundland Morning, you'll hear from the Canadian Federation of Students on a day of action planned for Memorial University in Grenfell in Corner Brook. Find out what's planned and why students are upset. Well, let's head back to Bannerman Park one last time, where Ashley is tonight. Our show is almost over this evening, Ashley, but the annual pumpkin walk is continuing on until 8:30 tonight. How's it looking there now?
It is packed down here. Lots of people enjoying the free hot chocolate. And if you are coming down here, definitely pick one up because it's delicious and keeping you warm because it's really chilly down here. So if you are planning on heading down for the next couple of hours, get some warmer gloves and some boots because, like I said, it is a bit chilly. And we're looking at these cold temperatures, even colder than what it is right now. Unfortunately, as we head into Thursday, however, it's November. This is to be expected. But yeah, let's take a look at the long-range forecast for your Thursday morning into the afternoon hours. That's where we're really going to start to see some of that colder air move in, even the potential for some snow up across portions of Labrador. And that's going to work its way across the big land. Thursday will actually be fairly nice, but we are looking at that chance of a few flurries or some grapple, which will be like soft hail, essentially. But it isn't hail, it's grapple, and that will likely happen in the morning hours there. But take a look at the temperature, 0 to about 6 degrees. That is some of the coldest air that we have seen so far this season. Even up across Labrador, temperatures between -1 and, or -3, I should say, and about +2 through the day. So we may see a few showers, maybe a few flurries for you in Lab West. As far as Thursday evening goes, and into your Friday, this is when things should start to clear out. We may see a few lingering showers in the morning hours across the island, but then some sunshine. And then things get a bit unsettled up across Labrador. Some showers and even the potential for some freezing rain, it looks like, up across northern portions of Labrador. So take a look at the temperatures, though, warming right back up. It definitely is a roller coaster forecast for most of the province. So back up to 11 to 14 degrees across the island, except for the northern peninsula, single-digit temperatures for you. And then again, back up to about 9 degrees in Lab City. So definitely some warmer air, certainly in the mix. And then take a look at the long-range forecast. By Saturday, we're talking about temperatures potentially around 16 degrees again in St. John's. That might be a bit high, but at this point I'm going to stick with it. And then dropping down on Sunday down to about 6 degrees with those showers generally in the morning hours. Now, as far as central Newfoundland goes as well, you're looking at your temperatures warming up, teens, and then single digits on Sunday, and then similar forecast for you in western Newfoundland, although it does look a bit more like the chance of showers for you through the weekend. As far as eastern Labrador goes, 12 degrees by Saturday, dropping again on Sunday, staying a little bit more even keel there for those of you in western Labrador, but you're also looking at that chance of some flurries. Wanted to share this last shot with you. Tonight, our viewer picture of the day is a beautiful fall day in central. Trevor Miller shared that great shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is a great shot. Well, Ashley, it certainly seems like Bannerman Park is the place to be tonight. You'll be back with us in studio tomorrow, and you'll have something really interesting for us tomorrow night, I hear, a story about dogberries.
I do. There's not a whole lot of them on the trees, so we're going to talk about what that means potentially for our winter tomorrow.
All right, well, thanks so much for this, Ashley. Enjoy that hot chocolate. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow. And that's it for us tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us, and we hope to see you again tomorrow as well. Good night.